Hi, guys. My name is Stephanie, and I'm enjoying Who's the Boss podcast. I would like to do a shout out for your next episode, another single parent, and just point out that the single parent is played by Dee Dee Howard, who is in another one of my favorite 80s sitcoms, Night Court. She had a brief one episode appearance as the court clerk in one of the season one episodes before they got Mac in there. But had to do a shout out to Night Court because that's my other favorite 80s sitcom. I admire you guys for doing this podcast. I wish I had thought of it. I'd love to discuss all the intricate Who's the Boss details with you if you ever want a guest speaker. I'm at Stephanie Grimley on Twitter, and I follow you guys. So give a shout out. Can't wait to listen again. Thanks. Bye.
So, Melissa, what do you want to do?
Will you read me a story?
Oh, sure I will. Let's see what Mommy packed for you. Come here. Oh, let's see. Oh, look! It's my personal favorite. Peter Rabbit in Mr. McGregor's garden. I wonder how it'll end this time.
I know. Miss McGregor hits him with a rake. Uh-oh. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Melissa.
You want to go upstairs and play?
Well, sure he does. He wouldn't want to hurt your feelings now, would you, Jonathan?
Suckered again.
I don't get it. How come I do all the work and you get all the money? It's called seniority, and I'll always have it.
Hello. Welcome back to Ayo. Oh, hey. The Who's the Boss podcast. I'm Tori.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are here to rewatch and discuss every single episode of Who's the Boss. No news, no voicemails, nothing. We can get right to it.
What? Why no voicemails?
I don't know. Well, one of our listeners, Jamie, messaged me that she was trying to leave voicemail the other day, and she said it wasn't working.
Maybe our mailbox is full from all of the voicemails.
I don't think so, because I get an alert every time we get one.
All right, never mind.
I should go check, though, and see if maybe there are some, and I just don't know.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. Okay, today we're going to cover Season 4, Episode 13. The title of this episode is called Another Single Parent. It first aired Tuesday, January 5th, 1988. Oh, we're in 1988 now. This is the New Year's episode. The TV Guide summary says, Tony and Angela discover that their new friend may have snatched her daughter from her ex-husband. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tony befriends Kelly. Tony befriends Kelly, the widowed mother of the girl that Samantha is babysitting for. After a conversation with the girl, Angela finds out that Kelly is lying about her past. And then there is, while Sam babysits little Melissa, which actually means paying Jonathan pittance to do all the work.
Pittance.
Tony dates her widowed mother, Kelly Johnson, yet has a funny feeling about her. That proves justified when Angela works out Melissa isn't fatherless. Tony guesses right, she's a divorcee on the run, and insists she must obey court custody orders.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So wait, is that
and
why?
then there's a long, look at the synopsis.
Oh, okay, please do not read that.
I can't.
Okay.
That would be the whole podcast.
Right. So wait, is that why Tony isn't into her? Because he has some kind of weird sixth sense that she's stolen her daughter?
Well, we never know because we can discuss it in the...
Yeah, we'll when we get there, but...
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think so.
The writer of this episode is Glenn Padnick. This is his only writing credit for Who's the Boss.
Okay.
But he worked as the production manager on Who's the Boss for 47 episodes, production supervisor. He was also a crew member and wrote for other shows. So he wrote 2 episodes of Facts of Life, 3 of Silver Spoons, 8 of Different Strokes.
Wow.
And one show called Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry. I don't know that one.
Me either. That wasn't, okay, no. I don't know. I was wondering if it was a Larry spinoff of Three's Company, but it is not. I just clicked on it and it's
that
not.
would have been cool. I'd have watched that.
Okay, so when this episode opens, Tony's cleaning, and then Mona comes out dressed. What style of dress would you say this is?
I don't know.
Me either. I guess it looks like she's maybe in the game
Like-
Clue.
Yeah.
She's auditioning for that movie Knives
20s
Out.
maybe. Like the 20. No, maybe before that, I guess.
Yeah, that was like, I don't know. Okay.
Anyway.
And Tony says to her, so she has like a headband on with like a large feather, pearls, gloves, what looks to be a purple fur coat. And Tony says, where are you going dressed like that on a Saturday morning? And Mona says, to the car wash. And
I know, this is something real creepy here.
then Tony says, I bet they do it by hand.
Oh, God. What does that mean? I don't
know.
understand.
Is Mona getting or giving hand jobs at the car wash?
I don't
Is that
know.
what
And
that's
this is not
alluding
the
to?
first questionable thing in this episode.
Okay, so she thinks that's very funny.
Yeah.
But she's actually going on a murder mystery weekend, the Boston Express. And Tony's worried that she's going to kill someone. She says, no, I'm not the murderer. I'm a decoy. I'm supposed to have an affair with Lord Rothbone, his butler, his chauffeur, and the stable boy. Tony says, busy weekend.
Yeah.
Sounds like just a regular weekend for Mona, though.
I get, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, and then she goes to leave.
Oh, okay, wait. She goes to leave. What is this, another one? She says, he says,
No.
I hope Lord Rathbone is in good shape. Rathbone.
This is stupid.
And she says, well, if I'm not back by Tuesday, call Scotland Yard.
Yeah, okay.
And then she
I mean, it's just like, yeah, anyway, it's funny.
Now,
The jokes are just they're getting filthier, I think.
was this to set, like, this has nothing to do with the rest of the episode.
No, it's just to get rid of Mona because they didn't have anything for her.
I
That's
guess
what
so.
I think.
But then she's still in the episode. So
Right, but not
because this
nearly
episode
with any kind of
spans
substance.
over
She's like one of the
weeks.
kids in this.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, now the front door opens, and Jonathan and Angela have come home from a tennis lesson.
Right.
And he says, well, if it isn't Boris and Martina. Okay, so I get the Martina reference, but who was Boris?
He must be referring to Boris Becker, who was a big a German tennis player.
Was he angry?
I don't know why.
Well, so then Tony says, how are your lessons? Angela says, oh, he's great. He's a real star. He's got star potential. He screamed and argued over every point.
Well,
And
then that might be a reference to John McEnroe. then.
Oh, that's the guy who used to get angry. I was thinking it was
so
Andre
that must
Agassi.
be he was huge. McEnroe was
Okay.
huge in the
Got it.
80s. So that's probably there's three different references in that short
Got
period
it,
of time
yeah.
that would have been relevant then because Boris Becker was a big tennis player who won like Wimbledon in the 80s. So he would have been known. In 1980, he won gold medals and all kinds of stuff. He was a big tennis player then.
And so Jonathan says, hey, that's what they paid to see. And then he goes running upstairs. And Angela's like, oh, boy.
Yeah, got a live one here.
Now the doorbell rings and Tony
And
says,
you know what's funny? Another side little note is it's funny when they just have the kids come in, they say something, and then they just scatter.
Oh,
they
yeah,
run
they
up the
just run.
stairs or run out the back door, run out the front door.
yeah, now he ran up the stairs, which means that now Danny Pintauro will sit at the top of those stairs for the rest of this scene because there's nowhere to go.
They probably had candy for him or
That's
something
true,
up there.
maybe.
They were nice.
A little, I don't know, what did they have? Atari back then? Okay, and
Sorry.
now Angela looks adorable in this tennis outfit. She has on a little tennis skirt with a shirt and a little jacket. Now the doorbell rings and Tony says, what is this, Grand Central Grand Central today?
Sounds like my father.
I know, but
Something my father
Tony,
would say.
3 people who live in the house are in the living room and the doorbell has rung one time. How is this Grand Central Station? This is just your house and somebody rang the doorbell. So
I don't know. It's Tony being Tony.
He answers the door and there is a woman standing there. She says, hi, I'm Kelly Johnson. I'm looking for Samantha. He says, oh, you're the lady who called about the babysitter.
Right.
Sure, she should be here any minute. Come on in. I'm her father. And she says, I hope you don't think I'm being overprotective. I just really like to meet the babysitter before.
No, you're not. You probably should meet the babysitter
Yeah, I don't
before they're
think
going to
there's
take care of
anything
your
wrong with that.
child.
Now, this kind of thing doesn't really happen anymore, where like neighborhood teenage girls watch your kid. At least not any teenage girls or children that we know. I don't know if maybe in other places in America this maybe still happens, but one, I don't know any teenagers in our neighborhood. And two, all of our babysitters have been like over 20. Like that's what I consider like a young babysitter these days. But I remember being 13, 14 and like babysitting with my friends of some of the neighborhood children.
You having parties?
No, we were nerds. We were fine. He says, no, I don't think you're protective at all. I used to get them fingerprinted.
Very Tony.
Very Tony. I know, of course. Now, Angela's just sort of standing there while the two of them are kind of flirting. You know, he's just being friendly, but it could be interpreted as flirting. And he realizes Angela's standing there, so he's like, oh, this is Angela Bauer, and I'm her housekeeper. Mm-hmm. Kelly introduces herself to Angela, you know, nice to meet you. We're new to the area, just moved to Fairfield a few weeks ago. She says she teaches aerobics at the Fairfield Health Club. And Angela says, oh, I've been thinking about joining a health club. And Kelly says, oh, you should. It will really improve your tennis game and tone up those thighs.
I know, and Tony knows. He puts his head in his hand. He knows that was the wrong thing to say. Tone up those thighs.
Well, and he's looking at her thighs.
I know, he is.
Because he's thinking, really? Tone up those thighs. Okay. So now these two ladies are not off to a good start.
No.
And this is a normal interaction of television women, especially in this time period, where there's like any kind of potential love triangle. Like this woman, of course. Like, what would make her say that? Would you ever just say...
Tone up those thighs.
Tone up those thighs.
Maybe she didn't mean it as that.
Yeah,
like
I guess
Angela's thigh, but just mean tone up those thighs.
Right.
I don't know.
Meanwhile, Angela has little tiny popsicle sticks for legs. They're tiny. Everything about Angela is tiny. And she's like, oh, okay, great. Thank you. That's nice to know. And then Angela goes to the mirror and starts looking at her thighs.
I know. While he's Tony's.
Yeah. Kelly says, well, you look like Tony.
Right. So she goes from insulting Angela right to you look like somebody who's been to the gym, knows their way around a gym.
Right. And then Tony starts flexing
doing
all.
These dumb,
I know. Doing all like the dumb.
Like the first one was like, what's the second one?
It's those dumb body. I don't know. I've seen pictures of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s doing, or 70s doing those poses. It's that dumb bodybuilder pose.
He does it again later.
Of course he does. He tells Kelly, well, it sounds like you know your way around a locker room.
Well, what does that have to do with anything?
I don't know.
And that actually sounds like she's
like he's calling her slutty or something.
Yeah, you know your way around a locker room.
And she says, well, I'm a real sports nut. And then Tony goes over to Angela and he's like, did you hear that? Kelly's a real sports nut. And he catches Angela. She's still looking at her thighs.
Oh, right, yeah.
So she turns around and she's like, oh, okay, that's good, nice. Kelly asks Tony, do you like boxing? And he says, do I like boxing? Angela, tell her.
I know, he likes boxing.
Yeah.
It's so funny, her response.
And then Kelly says, well, I have an extra ticket to the Henderson-Taggart fight if you're interested. Am I interested? And Angela says, he's interested.
I know, it's just so funny.
Yeah. And she says, great, I'll see you Friday. Now that she has a date, she suddenly can't wait any longer to wait for Sam because she has to go pick up her kid.
Right. Like you were there waiting for Sam for like 2.5 minutes.
Right. But I guess she feels like maybe since she met Sam's dad and whoever Angela is, that she feels more comfortable about it now. She's at least seen the house. And she's like, I can't wait for Sam. I have to go pick up Melissa, thank you, by noon. So she leaves. And Angela, as she's on her way out, Angela says, welcome to Connecticut. I hope you and your husband will be very happy here.
All right. And this is the beginning of Angela prying into this woman's life.
And then Kelly says, I lost my husband. He passed away recently. So it's just Melissa and me. And Angela says, oh, I'm so sorry. And she says, yes, I'm a single woman again. Woman again. And Angela says, oh, I'm so sorry.
I know. It's just funny.
Yes, because that means that she's going to have some competition with Tony here. Mm-hmm. Now, it's been a while since we've seen any sort of jealousy or anything even having to do with the, relationship aspect of this couple here has come up. Because they've both kind of just been not interested in anyone and just sort of hanging out with each other, just doing family things. We're 13 episodes in now? Okay, almost halfway. She leaves. So Kelly leaves. Now we cut to Samantha on the couch, and she's rocking out to some heavy metal music that I'm pretty sure is not a real band playing in the background.
It doesn't sound like it.
I noticed that the bottoms of her shoes look well worn, which I thought was interesting because you would figure that, I mean, maybe she's been wearing them for dress rehearsal or she's worn them before Samantha, but normally you would think that they would look a little fresh on the bottom because they were just set shoes, but they actually do look nicely worn.
Yep.
Tony comes in and he's like, will you cut it out with the heavy metal music? It's pulling the magnets off the refrigerator.
Such a Tony thing to say.
I know. Meanwhile, this is the guy who apparently went to the Beastie Boys concert and loved it. Mm-hmm. And Samantha tells him, you just can't appreciate good music. When these guys play, they have to hire guards to keep girls from rushing the stage. And he says, well, of course, that's because they want to get makeup tips from them. So who do you think that is? Is it Poison?
Poison was a big one.
Def Leppard?
I remember when Poison, when the album...
I can picture it in my head.
It's a 4 of them on the cover.
Exactly.
It's called Open Up and Say Ah or something. That's the name of the album.
Yeah.
And I seriously, when I first saw that, I thought it was a woman, like a lady band. I really did. I didn't know that it was men. They were really made up. Look it up if you
I loved them.
If you don't remember.
I just remember hanging out with my friend Sarah and listening to that cassette tape over and over and over again.
No, it wasn't Open Up and Say Ah. It must have been their first album. Whatever.
I can picture it in my head, but I don't know the name of it. Okay, so here's the part that you notice where...
It's called Look What the Cat Dragged
Oh,
In.
yes,
That's
that is it, yeah.
I'm thinking of. Sorry.
So after Tony makes the makeup joke, the audience really laughs. And Alyssa tries to go for her next line, but she didn't wait long enough to wait for the laughter to die down. So she has to say it twice. That was cute.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that was, she handled it well.
Yeah. So she says, let me know when Kelly drops off Melissa. So we're to think that some time has passed here because now when Angela comes in, she says, oh, Samantha's babysitting for Melissa again. Tony says, yeah, Kelly and I are going to see the...
Taggart fight, whatever.
Right. Oh, wait, so then this is only...
But that's what I was going to bring up is the fact that, excuse me, she invited him to the fight. That must have been Monday. Because it sounds like they've hung out every day because now it's finally Friday.
Okay, right.
When this fight is.
I see. So I was thinking that this was after the Henderson Taggart fight. But okay, that makes more sense.
But
so,
wait a minute.
So she says, what?
So when she came by, Mona was leaving. So it was Friday because she was going for the whole weekend.
Right, okay.
So now this is a Friday a week, 7 days later.
Okay.
That's what I'm going.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And she says,
is Mona back from the murder mystery?
She is back because we're going to see her this night.
Okay.
She says, you certainly have been seeing a lot of our little sports nut this week. So, yeah, I guess they started hanging out before the Henderson Taggart fight. Tony says, yeah, I have. And now that you mention it, there's something that I want to talk to you about. And Angela's like, oh, yeah? And he says, yeah, it's about me and Kelly. Angela looks a little nervous.
Yeah.
She's like,
she doesn't know what's coming.
What is it? I know. He says, this has never happened to me before. Kelly, she's gorgeous, fun-loving, intelligent. And Angela stands up and says, I'm not sure I'm the one that you should be telling this to.
Yeah.
And I love this moment. Well, one, Judith's great. But two, everybody knows that feeling of she's just waiting for him to be like, I really am so into her. And,
right. And
I haven't felt like
that.
this in a long time.
Yeah.
And Angela's realizing, once you tell me that, it's going to really, upset me for the rest of the night, probably the rest of however long. She's just thinking, here we go again. Here's Frankie.
Yeah, right.
A blonde Frankie who lives in Connecticut and also loves sports. She's trying to get out of this situation. So even if that is what he's going to say, she doesn't have to hear it. And he says, no, you're actually the exact person that I should talk to about this because I don't know what it is, but I don't have any feelings for her. And he says, I've got buddy feelings, but not anything that sets a guy's heart aflutter.
Tony.
And then he asks, you don't think there's something wrong with me, do you? So do you think that they're trying to set up here that he doesn't have feelings for her because we're going to find out that she stole her kid?
No, I don't think at all that he has any suspicion about that in the least.
Okay.
I think I just want to understand about this episode. It would have almost made sense that Tony would have started having like feelings for her. Do you know what I mean?
Because then it would have been more of a shock when...
Yeah, I don't understand why it was like, well, they're
hurt.
just buddies, and then they just stay buddies. I don't... Like, why did they make it a point to go out of their way to point out the fact that they weren't romantically involved, unless it was for the benefit of the scene with Tony and Angela?
Yeah, I guess so.
The Tony and Angela chemistry, to keep that kind of...
Right. To be able
going
to
for
see
4
her
more years.
To be able to see her reacting to thinking that he's going to say he likes her, and then the relief when she realizes that he doesn't have.
Yeah, I
those
guess that's what the
feelings for
benefit
her.
of this is. Otherwise, I don't see how this helps this episode along.
Yeah, you're right. Because for the benefit of the episode, and for Tony to be so upset, it would have made more sense for him to have had feelings for her.
Yeah.
But these two really don't. It's going to be a long time now before they have feelings for anyone. Like, we don't see any other kind of relationship come in.
Right, you think Tony would be all over it.
I know, but and that's how he started off.
But then he makes a reference, which I'll bring up later.
Oh, the cutie.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
If he's not attracted, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, realistically, he would probably have been. I mean, there are certain people that you have in your life when you're single and you think, like, they're perfectly attractive and there's nothing wrong with them, but I just am not. Like, there's certain people you click with and there's certain people you don't.
Yeah.
So it could have been that kind of situation. But yes, it seems like he probably would have been into her. But we're supposed to think that he's now so in love with Angela that he can't really be with anyone else.
Right, that must be what this is. When he's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Is something wrong with me?
Right. But he already knows that he's in love with her.
But I don't know.
I know. And I still think that Tony would be able to bang it out with some other people while still being in love with Angela.
Yeah,
since he
especially
doesn't
this one's probably very vulnerable.
He doesn't think that anything's going to happen between them ever. Okay. So he says, maybe I walked under that hole in the ozone layer.
Right, because the ozone layer talk was big in the 80s.
That was so big.
That was the thing, was the ozone layer.
Don't use Aquanet hairspray.
Yeah, don't use hairspray
aerosol
and whatever, and there's an ozone.
I'm sure we still have a terrible ozone problem.
Yeah, it's probably awful. We just don't care anymore.
Yeah, we just call it other things
We've moved
now,
on.
and still nobody cares.
Yeah.
So he answers, it's later that night, he answers the door. Okay, when he answers the door here, there is a major boom mic shadow on the wall right next to the door to the left. It's so bad. The shadows are really harsh in this shot altogether. So now we meet one of the cutest kids who will ever be on this show.
Yeah, she is.
So he opens the door and we finally meet Melissa. So he says, hi, Kelly and Melissa. And little Melissa says, hi, Tony. And he asks, are you ready for your spacewalk? So this is definitely not the first time he's met this little girl. So he picks her up and he says, like, blast off. And he starts bringing her over to the couch and she's kicking her little legs like she's on a spacewalk.
Silly.
Okay, so, I didn't say who plays Kelly. So Kelly is played by an actress named Dee Dee Howard. When you go to her IMDb, it says that she's best known for the movie Drop Zone, which I see has Wesley Snipes in it. She played Norma, but I don't really know how much of that movie she was in.
Right.
Or it's just one of the biggest things that she
doesn't have a picture on IMDb, so.
Yes, and she did some voice work in 2009 for American Dad. That's pretty cool. Oh, and Family Guy she worked on a bit.
A lot.
Do you think they can hear the dryer in the background through that door? Oh, well.
Maybe.
Sorry, guys. Laundry. And then, like, just here and there, other little character parts.
Yeah.
Naked Gun 2.5, she is Barbecue Mom.
Oh, I know. I saw Naked Gun 2.5. I'm like, oh, maybe. Because I feel like I recognize her. And the only thing I can think of.
She does look familiar.
She played Lola in Three's Company. So maybe we recognize her from that.
I'm sure we've seen that episode because we've seen them all. Okay, now the little girl playing Kelly is an actress named Jessica Player. She is going to be best known for her stint as Christina Carrington on Dynasty. She played Blake and I can't remember the other lady's name. Crystal. Blake and Crystal's daughter. And she has not acted, I don't believe, since that 1991 she was in the reunion show.
Yeah.
So she hasn't acted since she was a child. Because I believe she was born...
Oh, yeah, because 91. Yeah, I mean, this episode, it's 88.
Yeah. And she must have done that stint on...
She was in a lot of Dynasty.
Dynasty was from 87 to 89. Then she was on another TV show called A Family for Joe. And then the Dynasty reunion. And she was born in 1982. So she would have been 9 in 91. And that's the last time she acted.
That's it for her. Done.
I know. I wonder because she really, for a child this young, she does a fantastic job in this episode.
She does.
I'm sure I've seen her in Dynasty because I watched it with my mom as a kid, but it's not anything I've seen recently. So I don't really know, what her work was like there. But she's really captivating because she has such a cute look, and then she has a lot of dialogue to deliver, and she does a great job. So he plops her down on the armrest of the sofa, and there he goes. He does that little move again.
Which move?
The little bodybuilder pose.
Yeah,
after he drops her off on the couch.
Oh, no, because she says that you have been in the gym because he was able to lift her up and carry her across the room. So
he was able to lift a 4-year-old and carry her 6 feet.
Yeah, big deal.
Now,
and I like when he calls her. He says, "You got it, you little dewdrop." And then as he's walking away, he does the Tony. Hey, she's so cute.
Okay, wait a minute. December of 82. All right, here we go. I'm bad with math. So we're in January of 88. So in 87, she's 5. She would have just turned 5.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah,
82. Okay, so now Samantha comes down the stairs. She says, babysitter reporting for duty. She goes over to Melissa and she asks, what do you want to do tonight? And Tony says that he's made Melissa's favorite bedtime snack, chocolate pudding.
Right. Okay, so another side note here is Tony's turned into a softie because Jonathan and Samantha would not have gotten chocolate pudding right before bed.
That is a good point.
They'd be eating their apple slices and their water. But this one's getting chocolate pudding. Yeah.
Yes. And he's like, he calls her a little dewdrop.
Yeah, dewdrop.
Tony Micelli is adorable with children. And I also feel like Tony Danza gets kind of excited when little kids are on too. He always, whether or not that baby in the last episode was his, even when Clint was on and this little girl, he gets fairly excited over little kids, which is cute. So she says, thank you, Tony. Mm-hmm. And then Kelly lets Sam know, her PJs and her pop-up storybook and her blanket are all in this bag right here. She says goodbye to Melissa. Melissa says bye to her. And then they leave. So they say they'll be back around 11, but they're joking that they may be back earlier if one guy gets knocked out, which is what Kelly has predicted is going to happen. So now Sam says...
tags him in the first. So whatever.
Yeah. Sam says, are those real wrestlers?
I was just about to say that. I should have looked that up.
Yeah.
They probably were. I wasn't big on boxing.
Yeah.
Never
so
really
Sam asks Melissa, what do you want to do? And she says, how will you read me a story? So she says, sure. And they go over to the bag to pull out a book and see what she's got. It's her personal favorite. You don't have this scene on Antenna TV, by the way. Antenna TV really chopped up this episode. She pulls out...
We'll listen together as you tell me.
She pulls out a book and she's like, it's my personal favorite, Peter Rabbit in Mrs. McGregor's garden. And then she says, I wonder how it's going to end this time. And she says, I know, Miss McGregor hits him with the shovel.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that book, but it sounds pretty awful.
Yeah, violent.
Now, Jonathan comes in with his hair just flapping everywhere.
I know. Again, it's a mess.
The cowlicks are all over the place now. Someone please risk the ozone, get out some Aquanet, and spray that stuff down.
Fix this kid's hair.
And as soon as Melissa sees Jonathan, she gets very excited. She says, hi, Jonathan. So now Melissa's been around. She knows everyone. Yep. Everyone but Mona, probably, because Mona was away.
Yeah, I mean, she's been over a couple times because Tony's been hanging out.
Yep.
And
he's been hanging out around bedtime if he knows that that's her favorite treat.
Yep.
Now, Jonathan he's like, oh no, and he tries to escape. But Melissa says, do you want to go upstairs and play? And Sam says, of course he does, because he wouldn't want to hurt your feelings. And so she's like, okay, great. So she starts going up the steps, and she turns around and looks at him too, and she's like halfway up, and it's the cutest thing. And Jonathan says, I don't get it. How come I do all the work and you get all the money? Sam says, it's seniority, and I'll always have it.
Yeah. He could walk, you know. He could just walk away.
Go into Peter's house or whoever's house he spends the night at most of the time.
Done.
But yeah, now she just got a great deal. He's going upstairs to play with her, and she gets to sit down on the couch and do it. Right. So when they come back, it's later that night, and Sam's eating pudding. Melissa's chocolate pudding.
Right, and talking on the phone.
Yeah. She's on the phone with Bonnie, and I love this because she's like, oh, hi, Bonnie. I can't talk right now. I'm babysitting. Then there's like a split second, and Sam's like, okay, yeah. Let me call you back. And then she yells for Angela. So then when Angela comes down the stairs.
I know, it's immediate panic.
Yeah. Angela's like, what happened? What's wrong? And Sam says, it's great news. Bonnie's brother and his girlfriend got into a terrible fight and they broke up. And
what?
Angela says, why is that great news? She says, because he gave Bonnie the tickets to the U2 concert tonight. So I can go if I can find a babysitter. I do the closed captioning on YouTube. And it says YouTube concert instead of YouTube
concert. Nice.
Now,
that's funny.
Really? Bonnie got all that information to Sam in that split second that she took a bite of chocolate pudding before she squealed and called for Angela?
I guess so.
TV. She says, I could go if I can find some caring adult to babysit for me. Any thoughts? Angela's a real softie here for doing this.
Yeah, she is.
Like, one, I mean, she committed to babysitting, and now she's just pawned this kid off on Jonathan already. Now she's going to hand her over to Angela and then go out for the night.
I know. She really doesn't watch them at all.
No. And she says it pays $2 an hour. And then Angela says, well, how can I say no to that?
Right.
She says, you're the best and I owe you. Now, as she's going upstairs to get ready, Angela's like, wait a minute. Oh, Sam says, I owe you for the rest of my life. Angela says, speaking of the rest of your life, what about your father? Sam's like, well, I did all my homework. I did all my chores, and Bonnie's dad's going to drive us there and pick us up. I'll be home right after the concert's over. And Angela says, okay. Then she's like, hey. And she kind of has a little Tony Micelli attitude to her.
Yeah.
She says, I want you to wear a heavy coat. I want you to sit next to a security guard and don't talk to any guys in tight jeans or chains. And Sam says, okay, Dad. And then gives Angela a kiss and goes running upstairs.
Yeah.
So I love that moment between the two of them because, one, Angela's a softie. Two, I love that she's comfortable giving Samantha permission. Like, there were no cell phones, so it's not like Sam was going to be able to text Dad at the game or the fight.
And find out if she can go to...
Right. But Angela feels comfortable enough now, and she knows Tony well enough that she, could let her go. So now...
Yeah, it's almost like a very mother-daughter moment.
Yeah, totally. Now, you don't have this part either.
I don't.
So even later that night, Angela... And we know it's later because Angela's hair has gone from being down to up.
Yeah, this is relaxing Angela.
Casual
Angela.
Whenever I relax, I like to put my hair up into like this Gibson type bun with a little ribbon.
Right, and put a turtleneck on.
Well, that she already had, right?
Yeah, but it's late.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Right? I'd be in full pajamas. Like she should be in her pajamas here. And she's reading a book. We don't know exactly what the book is yet. But Mona is here now. Because
that's why I keep forgetting is I keep watching this episode where there's no Mona.
Right. So Mona sneaks out of the kitchen and she sees that Angela's engrossed in the book. And then she's kind of like making little Dracula moves behind her because she's going to try to scare her. And then she does scare her and Angela screams. And she says, do not ever do that to me. I'm reading a Stephen King novel. Mona says, Angela, you're such a wimp. You used to be scared when I would read you bedtime stories. Angela says, Mother, you read me the tales of Jack the Ripper. Why?
I don't know. Terrible.
Now, later that night, Mona's gone. She kicked her out. She's sitting on the couch again, still reading. And little Melissa comes down the steps. And she walks up behind her and kind of looks at her. And the thing about this little girl, too, is she almost kind of has a Heather O'Rourke look to her, which was the little girl from Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
So it looks a little like I can see why it kind of is even more funny that she's staring at her. Angela screams when she realizes someone's behind her. And the little girl doesn't even flinch. I love this kid. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. You startled me. And then she says, are you all right? And Melissa says, I can't sleep. And Angela's like, yeah, I see that.
Right.
So
figured that
come
much
here.
out.
Yeah. So Angela picks her up and puts her on her lap. And the little girl says, I like your hair. It's just like Mommy's, except it's black on the bottom.
Right. Oh, man. Kids are so honest.
You know, so my hair is naturally brown and I dye it blonde. And so at some point during the pandemic, I hadn't been able to get my hair highlighted for a long time. And I had my hair up and then like in a bun. And Avi said to me, I like how your hair is black on top and then your bun is blonde.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Avi.
It's pretty much what Melissa said.
Yeah, it's just the honesty of kids. And the audience loves this joke because it takes a long time for them to quiet down. And it's the humor is added to by Angela just staring at Melissa while she waits for the audience to calm down, or Judith waits for the audience. And she says, well, that's the way it grows.
Yes.
It's like, why are you lying to this kid? Just tell her you bleach your hair.
Right.
Then she says, I like your nightgown. And the little girl says, thank you. My mommy bought it for me. She bought me all new clothes. And Angela says, well, that's very nice of your mommy. And then she asks her, do you have a special doll or anything that you like to sleep with? Because she wants this kid to get back to bed so she can
finish reading her book.
Stephen King. This is the 80s version of putting the kids to bed and watching a murder documentary, which is what we like to do.
Yes.
And she says, yes, Mr. Hadley. And so Angela's like, oh, well, do you have him? And she says, no, I don't have him anymore. And she's like, oh, no, why not? The little girl tells her that mommy picked her up from school and she said that they had to go away real fast. She couldn't go home to get Mr. Hadley. And Angela says, why not? And she says, because she told me that Daddy wasn't there anymore and that we had to go away. Angela's like, oh, she thinks that Melissa's talking about the fact that her father's dead. And she's like, oh, I know, I understand. And so she hugs Melissa. And the lighting is really weird here.
It is.
When Melissa first sits down in Angela's lap, it suddenly gets brighter. And then at another point here, it gets darker. I think like they were having a hard time lighting this for like nighttime and still get both of their faces.
I mean, yeah, but it's pretty dark.
It is. Then Melissa says, you know what? One time my daddy called, but mommy said he was too busy to talk to me. And now Angela's confused. Like, your dad called? She's like, are you and then she says, and then what happened? And Melissa says, we moved here.
Yeah.
So Angela's like, are you sure that your dad called? And right then the front door opens and Kelly and Tony come home. So Angela can't question her anymore. And Melissa goes running over to Kelly and says, Mommy. And Kelly asks, like, what is she doing up so late?
Yeah, I know. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Where's the babysitter I'm paying $2 an hour?
Right.
And why is she up so late?
And that's the thing, too. When Sam's hired as the babysitter, who's paying her? Because they're both, I know, but they're both going out. That's going out with Tony.
Oh, yeah. So, maybe they're both giving $1.
Tony's paying, because to get her out of the house. To hang out.
Well, the first time she comes over because she needs a babysitter, it's for something besides this. So I wonder if then that's how he became more familiar with her because she was dropping. Like when I was a kid, you would babysit at their house. But obviously for this story, the little girl needs to be at their house.
Right.
Angela says she was having a little trouble sleeping. Tony rips the book out of her hand and says, well, no wonder you're reading her The Shining.
That's terrible.
Kevin laughs every single time.
Every time. It's funny.
And then he says, well, where is Sam? And Angela says, she's at a U2 concert. And Tony starts to like get a little upset. She's like, don't worry. She's sitting next to a fire exit in a heavy coat. And Tony's like, what about the tight jeans and chains? And she says, it's covered. Tony says, you're getting good, Angela.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It is. It's cute. So that just shows that even he's comfortable with her making parenting decisions for Samantha. Now, Kelly tells Melissa, well, we should get you home and to bed. Because obviously,
right, that ain't happening in this house.
Right, everything I paid for here, you got chocolate pudding and now you can't sleep.
Right, right.
So she thanks Angela for looking after her. And like, as this mom, I think I might be a little pissed that the actual babysitter I hired pawned my kid off on someone else that I didn't approve and then went to a concert. But whatever. He says, good night, Melissa. And then he closes the door and he says, oh, what a little cutie. And then he says, and Melissa's not bad either.
Right, yeah. Boom.
Yeah. So that's the part that you were talking about earlier where he's made a point to tell Angela that he's not into this lady, but then he's going to make that little joke. And that's probably just to keep Angela on her toes. I
guess so, yeah.
Trying to frazzle her a little bit. So then he says, I'm going to go make myself a snack. Angela says, I need to talk to you. She's like, I know this sounds weird, but I have a feeling that Kelly's husband may still be alive. And Tony's like, what are you talking about? She's like, this is terrible. It's just, I think Kelly may have actually stolen Melissa from him. So Tony's like, where did you ever get a lame brain idea like that? Then Angela says, well, let's look at the facts. Like, you've been spending a lot of time with her, but you haven't actually been to her house. And he's like, well, she doesn't have any furniture. And she says, well, she's very closed-mouthed about her past. And he says, well, give the girl a break. She just lost her husband. And Angela says, well, and then there's Melissa. She said that her father called one time and Kelly wouldn't let her talk to him. Oh. And he's like, are you sure? And she says, yes. Now, Angela, why wouldn't you have led with that?
Right,
obviously,
like that
the fact that the little girl said her dad called is the most important thing there.
Right.
But, they got to build tension here. Yeah. We cut to another day. We could assume it's the next day, a couple days later. And Tony and Kelly are playing basketball in their backyard. Now, let's note that they both have shorts on here.
Yes, definitely note that.
Oh, I just realized she has blue Chucks on that look really cute with that outfit. I know. So she's trying to get him off his game, and she says, you've got really sexy legs. So it kind of distracts him, and then she makes a basket. Hey, Tony's so easy.
I know. He really is.
So he's going to try to figure out a way to get a little bit of information out of her. So they continue playing, and he says, well, how do you like Fairfield so far? And she says that she loves it. And he's like, is it better than where you used to live? And she says, yeah. And then he's like, where was that again? I don't really remember. She's like, it was up north. And he's like, okay, well, north like Vermont or Greenland? And she says, New Hampshire. So, and he's like, oh, okay. And so she wants to know, why are you asking so many questions? And he's like, I know this sounds crazy, but did you take Melissa from her father? He said Melissa was saying some things. And she says, I don't know what Melissa said, but she has an active imagination. And she hasn't really gotten over the fact that her father's not coming back. And then she says to Tony, you of all people should know that. Right.
You should respect that or whatever.
Yeah. So at some point they've had a conversation where Tony has said that he is also, he's a widow and lost his, he's a widower. She's a widow. Okay. And that he lost his wife. But Tony's not buying it. So he says, I want you to level with me here. And she says, I just stay out of my business. You don't understand all of the facts. And I don't want to talk about this. And she leaves.
Yep.
So now Tony pretty much figures that Angela was right. So he goes into the living room, and you're missing a little bit of this part too.
Okay, yeah, because I think...
So he goes into the living room, and Angela's sitting there doing a crossword puzzle. And now Tony's wearing sweatpants.
Right, out of nowhere, which he apparently put on in the backyard.
I know. And it doesn't appear that he's wearing shorts underneath the sweatpants. And is it hot outside and cold in the house?
I have no idea.
It's January.
No
so
idea.
Probably not. So I don't understand, so maybe for the dress rehearsal they were wearing shorts, and then for the actual live taping at night they were wearing pants.
That's
and then
possible.
they ended up just using the cut here of the other one so it didn't match anymore. So he sits down and Angela says, I need a 5-letter word, Inca god of fertility. And Tony spells out the word dummy. What's wrong?
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Nothing.
You lost your episode.
Yes, I did not mean to do that. I hit the wrong button.
So he spells out the word dummy, and then she says, no, it doesn't fit. And then she says, I was right, wasn't I? And he says, yes.
Yep.
And she's like, this is the one time I wish that I wasn't.
Yep, in her little linebacker outfit.
I know. The shoulder pads.
It's so aggressive.
First of all, when I look at her, it makes me think of Neapolitan ice cream. Because it's like
Sure.
vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. I want to lick that sweater. And then the shoulder pads are so big. I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, they're pretty brutal.
Also, I don't believe Angela. She's happy to be right, regardless. Because even though Tony doesn't have feelings for this lady, she wants her out of here anyway. He says, she would have just kept on lying to me and she would have kept Melissa.
Right.
So now Sam comes downstairs. I noticed that I like Sam's, it's only a matter of time before our daughter is wearing what Sam's wearing here. Because
You think?
I think so. The 80s are back so hardcore that she's been wearing her little high-waisted jean shorts with a belt and a little shirt kind of tucked in. And this is very similar. Like, I could see Isla wearing these pants and then the sweater tucked in.
Oh, yeah.
So Sam comes downstairs and Tony's like, Sam, we've always had a great relationship, right? And she says, sure, Dad. And he says, we always are really honest with each other and open and trusting. And she's like, yeah. And then he's like, baby, I love you. And he hugs her. And she says, Dad, you're not dying, are you?
Right.
Now, for a child who's already lost a parent, I feel like that's a pretty dark joke to have her say.
I know, right?
But whatever. And he says no. And then she's like, I'm not dying, am I? And he says no. That he just wants to make sure that they always continue to be open and honest with each other. Seeing that Sam is 15 and has a boyfriend, I feel like there's probably a lot of stuff Sam's not being very open and honest with to Tony about.
Oh, yeah.
She's probably thinking, oh, shit, what does he know? But instead, she walks away and she says to Angela, I think he's starting to lose it. And he walks out. So Tony says, I would really hate to lose my daughter. This is where this episode really goes off the rails here. Like, one, we don't know the circumstances as to why she took this little girl.
Exactly right.
And we're going to find out a little bit more. But Tony is immediately thinking like this woman just took her daughter from a father. So he's thinking of it as the father's perspective. But he's thinking of it from his perspective, where he is a good and loving father.
Exactly.
Angela says, well, what are you going to do about it? And he says, it's cut and dry. Like, I have to blow the whistle on her. So he goes over to try to call the police. But Angela says, we really need to think about this here because it's traumatic for a mother to lose a child and you don't know the facts. There could be things that we don't know.
Right.
Thank you, Angela. There could be things that you don't you don't know here. And he says, all I know is that there is a father in New Hampshire who is looking for his daughter. I was talking to someone on Instagram earlier today about this episode, and they were saying that they wonder if this was supposed to go in a different direction, like a domestic violence situation, and maybe the network wouldn't let them, and so they had to kind of rework it. I would be really interested to see the first few drafts of this script to see if it was more along those lines. Because I feel like they're trying to get a message out and have a story with some depth, and then they just completely missed the mark.
Yeah, I agree. He
says there's a father in New Hampshire who's looking for his daughter. Who is going to help him? So he goes to pick up the phone, but he's like, I can't rat out my friends. I've never been able to, even when Johnny Ego stole from the collection plate and blamed it on me.
Terrible.
I love that last name is Ego.
I know.
And he says, I remodeled his nose, but I didn't turn him in. Now, just then, guess who shows up? Kelly.
Yeah.
Who was also now wearing pants. So
she went and go changing her pants.
Right.
Quick.
So did she just have pants with her that she put on in the front yard? Did she get all the way home and then realize and put her pants on and then come all the way back? So she says, I don't know where my mind is. I walked off with your basketball. And Tony says, that's not all you walked off with.
Oh, boy.
So Kelly realizes that he's not going to let this go. So she asks if she can come in, and he doesn't say anything, but Angela says, of course you can. Kelly comes in, and she wants to talk to Tony, but he doesn't really have anything to say to her. And he says as much. And she says, I could really use a friend right now. And he's like, well, talk to Angela because I can use some fresh air.
I know. Right. He just walked out.
So Tony's now made this all about himself.
Right.
When it has nothing to do with Tony. Like, if anything, he should use this opportunity to try to figure out if there's maybe some parts of the story that he doesn't know. But no. Hothead just gets mad and walks out the back
Right.
door.
Exactly.
I do like that, even though they set these two women up to kind of be pitted against each other in the beginning, now Angela becomes a bit of an ally for Kelly. Angela says he's very hurt, Kelly.
I know, but again, like you were saying earlier, not about Tony.
Yeah, not about Tony.
Tony didn't go through a custody battle.
Right. And again,
but Tony's hurt.
It would make more sense for Tony to be really hurt if he was starting to have a relationship with this woman.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is so many problems with this episode.
So Kelly says, I don't blame him, but I'm not the horrible person that you both think I am. And she says, I had a reason for doing what I did. She's like, as a mother, you should understand that. And Angela says, I'm really trying.
Right.
So
that whole scene, again, I said it earlier, it has a soap opera feel to it. The way she says, I'm really trying, and walks off the can.
Yes.
It's very soap opera.
I know they don't do a ton of dramatic stuff here. And when they do, it's normally Judith and Katherine Hellman together, which they're always fantastic. But yes, it does have a bit of that feel to it. Plus, Judith's pulling out her dramatic acting chops because she did a pretty long stint on a soap opera herself.
Right, exactly, which probably explains it.
So Kelly says it was a messy divorce and it was an even messier custody battle. And Melissa was in the middle of an ugly tug of war. And Angela says, so you just stole her? And she says, no, I actually gave up custody. I gave her up. Now again, I feel even back, so these days, it seems like custody is really, they try to do joint custody as much as possible.
Right.
In the 80s, I feel like it was always the default was the mother and dad got the weekends. You would have to prove that the mother was a pretty incompetent mother to be able to take custody away. So they don't really bring up anything that would make you think that she would have had custody taken away for any certain reason.
Right.
So again, this kind of just doesn't make sense. Like, why would she just automatically, why would a judge just not give her custody of the kid when normally they try to keep the kids with the mother at this time? Now it's much more. Think about that, man. Dad's really, okay, you can look at it two ways. Dad's either got off easy or dad's really got the shit end of the stick with not being able to see their kids if they wanted to. But mom had the kids all week, and then like every other weekend or whatever, the kids would go see dad. So then they get to do all the fun stuff, and mom's stuck at home the whole time.
Right.
Actually raising the children. I like that now that joint custody is much more of a thing. She says, then after a few months, I realized I couldn't live without her. So again, did she have no contact with Melissa, or was she the parent that was getting every other weekend? Because she makes it seem as if she had no contact with her, which I really think would be unusual for someone to take the child away completely from the mother, or either parent.
Right.
And she says, I couldn't live without her. Now, this is when Tony walks back in the back door. And then is just listening with his mouth open as he slowly strolls back over to where they are.
Right.
And she says, so one day after school, I picked up Melissa and I just kept driving. Angela says, well, I understand that you love her, but what is your plan? Like, are you just going to keep running every time somebody figures it out? And she says that she doesn't know what she's going to do. Mm-hmm. She just wants what's best for her. But that's not really what's best for her.
No, it's not.
But Kelly says, I just can't tell you what a relief it is to get this out in the open. And she tells Angela she's very happy to have a friend and that Angela is pretty much her only friend at this point. So now Tony chimes in because he's been back there the whole time and no one's noticed.
Right.
That
How did they not see him?
She actually has one more friend, and he's her friend. And she says, I'm sorry that I lied to you. I was afraid that you wouldn't understand and I would lose my pal. Well, of course,
Yes.
You wouldn't just meet someone in your new town and tell them that you took your child from their other parent, which is illegal and called kidnapping. So she was afraid she'd lose her pal.
Right. Lose her pal.
And Tony says, you're not losing anybody, And he's like, I'm here for you. And she says, you'll stand by me. And he says, every step of the way. And they're going to understand because you're going to bring Melissa back. And she says, well, wait a minute. I never said anything about bringing her back. Her idea of him understanding is for him to keep his mouth shut. And his idea for her understanding is to bring Melissa back. And Angela just sits there in the middle.
I know, right?
And she says, giving up custody was the biggest mistake I ever made. And Tony says, no, this is the biggest mistake you ever made. And she gets upset and she says, I'm sorry you see it like that. And she leaves. And she says, all I ask is that you remember we were friends.
And we were friends. Cheesy.
So, I know. It's like, this lady, yes, she needs a friend because she doesn't really have anyone as a support group. But she's known these people for a week. Just get out of there, lady.
Right.
Go.
And she must have some friends. She works at a water.
I mean, that's true. But water? What?
Or not.
The aerobics place.
Water.
Yeah.
Aerobics place. I wanted to say water aerobics.
Maybe they do that there.
Yeah.
I want to see Angela go to that class.
The water place. But she must have made friends with the aerobics place is what I'm trying to say.
Then Angela says, I
much.
thought we were getting through to her.
I know.
And she asks Tony, what are we going to do now? And he says,
is her goal to get through to her?
Yeah, I mean,
Still
I guess.
none of Angela's business.
Right.
But I guess they're trying to do what's best for the child. Right. So.
And I get it. Like, if this dad legitimately is a good dad, he shouldn't lose his kid. Why he had full custody of this child to begin with, who knows? They don't explain it to us. We don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like there would be more layers to the story than we know, but it's 30 minutes, not even 22, and it's just kind of a bad episode all around.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only do so much.
And he says, I'm going to be your friend. And then he walks over and he dials 911 on the phone and he says, I have some information about a missing child.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be your friend by calling the cops.
Yeah. We cut to an undetermined amount of time later. Like, I don't know how long it's been, but it's obviously been a while.
Days, maybe. Well, enough time to send a letter. Weeks.
Even, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the reality is that Kelly would have been arrested. Like, she technically kidnapped a child. It was her child, but she did it.
Right. And then, so Tony comes in. He's got, it's tea time. I don't know what the hell's going on. He's got a tray full of little teapots and like a child. And then Mona walks in, who apparently has been having intercourse with the mailman in the front yard, is what I got out of this. Like,
I know,
because she walks in and they're like, "You went for the mail an hour ago," and then she asks where she's been. And she says, "There are more things than rain, sleet, and snow that will keep a postman from his appointed rounds."
Yeah, it's Mona.
So she's been out in the mail truck getting it on.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what we're to assume, I think.
I guess so. It's bizarre.
So she hands out the mail and she says, oh, here's one for you. And he takes it and he says, oh, it's from Kelly. I wonder how she's doing.
See? Kelly could have called, by the way.
She could have called. So it must, maybe she only can write letters from jail. Like, I don't know.
Oh, you think that's true? She could be in jail.
I don't know.
She could be. She stole a child.
So the reality is that most of the missing children that go missing every day are taken by a family member or someone who knows the family.
That's true.
Like a parent abducting a kid due to a custody battle
Not
is
unusual.
not unusual.
Right.
But I just think the way this was handled, it was so like, okay, just bring your kid back. And then she writes a letter. And so in the letter, she says, I just wanted to send you a quick note to let you know Melissa and I are okay.
Okay.
Thanks for offering to be at the hearing.
Right.
I know it's going to be difficult, but I'll feel better having you there. It makes a real difference. And then she says, and you owe me $20 from the Henderson Taggart fight.
Right.
After he called the police and most likely had this woman arrested, I'm assuming that this hearing, the hearing is a custody hearing.
Yeah.
Or it's if she can post bond. Like I don't know.
But if it's a custody hearing, good luck. You already stole the child.
I know.
So good luck.
So now you're
Good
really
luck.
going to, because now you do have a red flag.
That sounds fun. Good luck.
Enclosed in the note is a drawing for Angela from Melissa. And Angela's like, oh, we really did have a special bond.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And she opens up the picture and she says, oh, it's a porcupine. Or no, or Mona says it's a porcupine. And then Tony says, yeah, it's funny because the quills are black on the bottom and light on the top.
Yeah.
And Angela says, yes, indeed, it is a porcupine. And she goes to put it away. I really like Angela's hair here. Like, I feel like this is later season Angela hair as opposed to now. It's kind of relaxed.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It is.
But
Much
I guess
better.
She went from being down to being up, and so they really couldn't probably bouffant it too much because it was the end of the episode.
True.
Yeah, so Mona went on a weekend, and she came back and scared Angela, and then she had sex with the mailman.
Well, yeah, and we're led to believe she could have had sex with anywhere from 1 to 4 men over the weekend.
Now, I'm not judging. Mona can have sex with whoever
I know,
she wants.
I'm just saying, though, like, that's what's going on in the show. And maybe something happened at the car wash. We don't know.
Hand jobs at the car wash.
I mean, something went down. Mona was busy this weekend.
And guess what? We're never going to see Kelly again.
Yeah, well, she's in jail.
I know. And little
all right,
Melissa, she was my favorite. She was adorable.
Melissa's with the dad, and she's in jail.
Yeah, okay, good. Happy episode. Okay. I'm going to
That's
go
the way
first.
it ends for me.
I'm going to go first with the rating on this, and I gave it a 6.
Okay.
Yeah, and
6.
because I just feel like if this was their original intent, they completely missed the mark. If they had to rework this script for whatever reason, then I get it, but it's still not a very good script. But one, Melissa's freaking adorable. I love the parts with Angela and Melissa are really cute. And I enjoyed the parts with Sam and Angela also.
Okay.
And that cute little part where Angela thinks he's going to say that he likes Kelly and then he doesn't. That part's really cute.
That is a good part.
Yeah. So it has its moments, but I just feel like the actual storyline is kind of weird. And then like Mona being thrown in to do random things.
I know. And then she's in and out of there.
Yeah. Okay, you go.
I agree. 6. I'll give it a nice solid 6.
Nice.
Again, with them having Tony not attracted to her, I don't know. There was just I feel like there were little holes in this story that were weird, and then once again it had to be wrapped up all quickly, and I don't know. And the way they approached the whole thing, with Tony playing basketball and level with me. I mean, and at the end of the day, none of this stuff is anybody's business. But they and I get it. I guess they're doing it for the kid, for Melissa to try to make things right for her, because then then they're like, what are you going to be on the run with her forever?
Right.
So because they're going to find her eventually.
Oh, and I was thinking too that I forgot to bring up earlier. This could never happen today because that kid would be on every social media platform.
That's true too.
It would be on the Citizen app.
Then she would have been on a milk carton, and that's it.
I know. Like then it would have been months later where they would have seen her on a milk carton and thought, that kind of looks like Melissa. Could have been years later.
Right.
So yes, it is interesting now how stuff like this couldn't happen. And just the fact that like Sam would have been able to text Tony instead of Angela. It's just funny to think of all the things in these older shows.
Right.
And we've been watching Stranger Things, which I've mentioned several times. And there's a Beyond Stranger Things that's on Netflix. If you haven't seen that and you like Stranger Things, it's fun. And they were saying how they would not be able to do this show today. And they love being able to do an 80s show because communication is so much harder. And instead of having cell phones, they have the walkie-talkies, but walkie-talkies aren't very reliable. So if you don't want it to work, it doesn't have to.
Right.
You know, so it is interesting how it is kind of harder for storytellers these days with so much communication.
Who's the boss around here? Me or my mother? Or maybe it's you?
Boss to me was a little hard.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit of a toss-up between Tony and Angela. But I went with Tony.
Yeah.
And the reason is that at the end, he's the one who made it right. He stuck with her to, he was her friend. And then he,
dialed 911.
called the cops on her. But I mean, again, only to make it right. And to, So yeah, I think that Tony was the boss. Because like I said, he stayed friends with her. He was looking out for her. But in the end, he needed to make it right.
Yeah. I agree. I felt like it could have been a tie between Tony and Angela.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But he did kind of make most of the moves. She came up with the information and then he sort of went with it.
Right.
But both of them annoyed me. All around.
I know. Trust me. Me too. I agree with you 100%.
So you can reach us at the Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram, Who's the Boss Pod 1 on Twitter, or on Facebook, the page is the Who's the Boss Podcast page. Or go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast, and there you can leave us a voice message. Now, the next episode we are going to cover, I don't even know how to say this, All in the Familia?
Yeah, familia.
Yeah,
Familia.
okay. I should. I'm Italian, but no one ever taught me Italian, so I don't know.
There you go.
And oh boy, there is some stuff in this one.
Really?
Yes. So Richard Greco, is that his name?
Yeah, Richard Greco.
He guest stars in this, and it is the worst Italian accent I think I have ever heard.
Oh, I look forward to it. Then.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all we have to do, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give a big thumbs up and tell all your friends. And maybe you can tell your grandma, your mother, and your sister or brother. Maybe you have no siblings. Tell your dog and cats. Bye.